Ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of the scene.
Yo, what the fuck is up, Warped Tour? The state of the scene at SOTS Podcast. Sam here with Marcos.
The state of the scene, baby. That's right.
The state of the scene.
So good you say it twice.
I feel like it's been a while since you and I like caught up on record. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I feel like we used to do that thing where we'd be like, hey, what are you and how are things?
I'm not going to lie. You're being a little parasocial right now, Sam.
Oh, fuck off, bro. I just mean like, people don't even know I'm engaged, you know?
What?
Like shit, yeah, that's what I mean. Like shit like that. Like I don't tell people fucking anything anymore. You know what I mean? Which is fine. Like I'm okay with it, but
Sam's been engaged 2 years.
I listened to
It's been that long.
5 years actually.
Did you ever watch that?
I did. I've seen that movie like 7 times. It's not even that good either.
Wow. Okay.
It's like an okay movie, but I've watched it a fuck ton.
Just a big Jason Segel guy? Is that who's in that movie?
Yes. Actually, yes, I kind of am really into him.
Oh, that wasn't the question.
What do you mean? That was the question.
No.
You said, "Are you a big Jason Segel guy?" And I said, "Yeah." I'm actually
that
really
was the
into
question.
him.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Chris Pratt's also in that movie.
What?
Crazy cast. Crazy fucking cast. I'm trying to think. Like, if I had to catch people up on shit I've been up to, I got promoted at work. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't tell people fucking anything.
Sam's now
anymore,
the
bro.
CEO of SOTS.
Fucking yeah, that's correct. I got stock in SLTS now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
1 cent.
Let's sell shares in SOTS until they send us to jail.
Yeah.
Like the fucking Breathe Carolina vocalist. What about you? Anything?
I feel pretty burnt, bro. I bought an Xbox Series X thinking Starfield would be good. This is like back in September.
A lot of big things going on in your life too, for sure.
Played like 2 hours of it, never touched it again.
Okay.
I did upgrade from a Switch Lite to a Switch, and I've been playing Prince of Persia, and that's been a lot of fun.
Okay, bet. Yeah.
I'm a big True Detective guy now.
Oh my god, bro. Lately it feels like the Light's winning. The show's so
God,
good.
I need a cigarette.
What an incredible fucking show, bro. I honestly live for fucking detective drama. I just want 2 guys, 3 times divorced between the 2 of them. One of them has a terrible drinking problem. The other one's addicted to whatever. And just like a mess. And they got to solve crime, bro. The best shows on TV.
It's ACAB forever, but like detective TV, like goddamn, does it scratch an itch?
The only thing that's up there is I've been watching I don't know what the name of it is, like Blind Love or something. I think it's called
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. Yeah. And bro,
I fell off.
You fell off?
I fell off after season 2. It just wasn't scratching that same itch anymore.
Not to sound like a heinous human being, but there's a joy that just like erupts in me when I get to watch somebody else's life fall apart live on TV.
Is that how
it's like
down
happy
bad?
couple next, happy couple next, a couple on the verge of fucking killing each other, seated, locked in.
Is this a must-watch season of Love is Blind?
Oh my god! It's been this one guy called his girl Clingy, and like, bro,
was it the same guy who got
me and my girl fell silent, like
foxed?
Yes, that's precisely correct. It is that same couple. Funny enough, yeah. It's just like, man, I love watching a couple absolutely fucking collapse. Incredible television.
God damn. Okay.
You think that's enough? You think they feel caught up at this point?
I mean, I don't have much else to share, bro.
Yeah, hey, if you want to know
I'm just out here vibing.
Patreon.com/SOTS podcast if you want to ask questions.
One thing I do want to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
We haven't been to a show yet this year. Not to like completely lose all the cred we had.
It does really make us feel like fucking fake music fans, but that's not it. I've just like, I don't know what it is. I've become incredibly burned out at the idea of doing anything like extracurricular that isn't like within my house. And I don't know if it's like getting old, or I feel like everyone is also like experiencing that recent phenomenon. Well, not even a recent phenomenon, but that thing where it's like, no, but it's not just that. It's like the fucking weekend finally comes around and it's like, all right, I didn't get shit all done like Monday through Friday. And now I have 2 days to catch up. Like, never mind, we also have to do this fucking show and edit it and get all that done. But like, let's say I have like that's a day and a half to get shit done. It's like, if I also go to a concert, I've 24 hours to do like every fucking like chore that needs to get done.
That's if a show's even on the weekend. Like,
oh yeah, no.
The idea of going to a show on like a Tuesday anymore.
Weekday show should be illegal. I'm sorry. They simply should be illegal. They should tour weekends.
I think that like I would turn to dust at like 10 p.m. on a Tuesday if I was still at a venue. Just like Avengers style, just like fade away.
It's not that, bro. I can survive off of like a late night and a short night's sleep. It's just the idea of like going through a whole workday, finally getting home, working out, doing all this, and then it's like, all right, now you have to leave your house again and drive to fucking Boston. It's like, nah, bro, no, thank you, no, I'm good.
That's a killer to drive home from Boston,
bro. I feel like our audience has never been less connected to us.
Never been less relatable.
These guys are in charge of the scene, not on our watch.
I also think part of it too is like, I feel like we got our white whale recently. Like, we saw Imminence live.
You're saying that shows have to be more of an event for you now to justify going. They can't just be like 4 bands on a Wednesday and like the
I've been there, done that.
Room. Yeah. Like, you've paid your dues at this point. It's like, if I'm gonna go to a show, I feel like the only thing I currently have tickets to right now is Blink 182 this summer.
That's not even with me. That's with your fucking fiance.
Yeah, right. And Pierce the Veil.
Really curious to see what you think of that set.
I mean, it's not like we're not going to go to... I'm sure we'll go to a show soon, but it does feel like...
I remember talking crazy like...
It hasn't happened yet.
Like, oh, dude, when we were young, can't miss. We're going to be there.
Technically, when we were young is can't miss, and somehow we won't be there.
I know. Well, that's what I mean.
It is can't miss.
We could do something right now to make sure we don't miss it, and we're going to miss it.
Yeah, well, you know, it costs a lot of money, too. Be honest with you, fucking expensive ass
man.
Trip.
That's the shitty
part.
If I
lived in Vegas, I'd go there fucking no question.
Yeah, it's a bunch of fucking like kids from California, Arizona, or adults from California, Arizona,
millennials from all over.
See a lot of 40s.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's what I mean. It's like, man, we still live like in Arizona, and like, yeah, if that shit was happening in Vegas, we'd be there.
Yeah, but it's even like if it was happening fucking around here, I'd go. You know
well,
what I mean? Like, give me louder.
West
than
Coast
life,
always benefits so much more.
45 minutes from my house, not a fucking plane trip away.
Right.
Then I'd go no problem. Then it'd be whatever. We'll go to a show. Fucking stop yelling at us, Jesus. As always, every link you need is in the description of this episode, including our socials, playlist, merch, and Discord. Subscribe to us on YouTube at SOTS Podcast YT. And fucking seriously right now? Seriously? Leave a thumbs up if you're watching. Please. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, fucking seriously, leave 5 stars. And if you want to support the show, consider becoming a patron for exclusive content, the ability to submit questions to the podcast, suggest albums for our Ranking the Scene series, and get producer credits on all of our video content. Tiers start as low as $3. $3 to keep this fucking podcast alive. There's literally nothing on earth left that costs $3. We're it.
Independent.
We're the last thing that's $3. Patrons also receive access to bonus podcast SOTS Deluxe. On this week's Deluxe, Marcus, we talk the fucking sad summer lineup, the fucking depressing ass sad summer lineup, the down people are
bad.
Not happy, and I understand why, and I think they're fucking right to be unhappy with it.
More like bad bummer fest.
Correct. We talk about Thornhill's new track Obsession, and Cove Rapper's apparently back in Seoshin, which is fucking insane weird.
Is a flat circle, baby.
Yeah.
And Anthony Green's, he's back out, you know?
There's like some nuance in all of this.
Nah, there's no nuance.
Nothing's like fucking been put on paper, inked out, signatured. Like nothing's official, but we'll speculate. Additionally, patrons get early access to this week's new episode of Ranking the Scene, which features albums from Bad Omens, Escape the Fate, and The Wonder Years, which releases free to the rest of you on Wednesday night over on our YouTube channel. Once again, $3 a month, patreon.com/SOTS podcast. If you don't want this podcast to miraculously disappear one day.
And it could.
It certainly could. Marcus, dated discourse. How can this nightmare be my life?
Working and working to survive. How can this nightmare be my life? Go, son,
Texas nu metalcore outfit Fixed Altitude came under fire this week after Texas death metal band Sanity Slip shared that a cease and desist had been filed by the band against their vocalist Cerinthia Marmolejo. The order alleged that they were engaging in hateful posts and unsubstantiated allegations revolving around the band, Studio 801, and vocalist Marco Gallegos. In their effort to be left alone, they initiated a full-blown Barbra Streisand effect as Fixed Altitude suddenly went from a band no one had ever heard of to the laughingstock of Twitter once user Dom the Virtuoso shared a clip of one of the band's songs featuring the unforgettable and endlessly memeable line, "Working and working to survive. How can this nightmare be my life?" Which unfortunately is not on Spotify, by the way.
It was.
It is?
I think so.
I swear to God, they had one song, and I'm sitting there listening
wasn't
to it,
that?
and I'm
I
like,
thought it
that
was.
ain't the track. I feel like that's not the
Fuck.
track.
What a bummer.
I thought that was this is like unreleased.
What a bummer.
And then I like went to their TikTok.
It's a demo.
Looking for like the same clip, and I couldn't fucking find that either. I don't know if they scrubbed it or what. You think this band would be proud of having a hit single?
This is one of the craziest Barbra Streisand effects that has ever happened in this
So
scene.
for those
ever
who
occurred.
don't know what the Barbra Streisand effect, it's essentially that Barbra Streisand did not want anyone to know where she lived and tried to like
Malibu.
get her area code or house like zip code removed from Google Maps, which immediately led to everybody looking up where Barbra Streisand lived.
It was Malibu, right? On the beach?
Yeah, it was obviously some fucking rich ass county of California.
If I lived in Malibu, I'd want people to know, you know?
I mean, also, like, what are you scared of? I'm sure you live in the most gated ass fucking community imaginable with like guards and like dogs. And all that
Streisand
shit.
probably had stalkers back in the day.
I'm sure Streisand maybe even still has stalkers to this day.
Sure.
And she probably still pays for security and
Of
so on and so
course.
forth, right? She's got a sniper who hides out in like one of her guest bedrooms, you know, get a little too close. Take you right out.
Goddamn.
Margos, this one, like all good memes, sort of exploded and then went out in a blaze of glory within like 48 hours.
Not before shining extremely bright.
Yeah, certainly. But it was obviously perfect material for data discourse, as everyone has clearly moved on at this point.
Do you
Do I?
do
What?
you fuck with the song?
I'm not gonna
The
pretend like,
clip.
I'm not gonna pretend like it also didn't get stuck in my head, right?
It's still stuck in my head to this day.
I'm surprised our last night didn't cover it already. To be honest, like I was waiting for somebody to come in here and try to like, you know, like that one person who always comes in and then like they're the ones who officially kill the joke. You know what I mean? Like
It's us.
like
usually.
it was fun and yeah, you know.
It's usually us.
I try to let people have their fun and then wait till it's over and then talk about it at this point. Marcus, let's talk about the saga of Nashville hardcore staples Llorona. The story comes from consequence.net and the headline reads, "Hardcore band fires singer for dosing bassist with estrogen." In summary, the vocalist of Llorona was fired after it came to light that they were dosing one of their bandmates with estrogen in an effort to steal their fiancé. 6. The bandmate and victim of this plot shared the following on the band's Instagram page. "We have decided to part ways with our vocalist Diego due to admission of very disturbing and concerning behavior towards one of our band members and their partner. He has admitted to being obsessed with said partner and has been attempting to sabotage their relationship by cutting pre-workout he frequently gets from his job with high amounts of estrogen in them. He has been attempting to force a transition onto him for at least 5 months in hopes that would give him the opportunity to swoop in once he looked stronger and more manly in comparison. stupid caveman mindset that makes zero sense. The tampering has caused confusion and thousands of dollars in medical bills the past months trying to figure out what's wrong. We would not know any of this unless Diego had gotten away too intoxicated and ousted himself.
Hadn't gotten way too intoxicated.
Yeah, precisely. And then stated an admission to all of this via text. There are many more disgusting details that have been left out for the sake of privacy and general censorship, end quote.
So this is confirmed true?
I mean, it's not like... Yeah, it's confirmed true. Yeah,
it's just such an insane scenario.
I understand what you're saying. It's that, like... It seems too unbelievable to be possible, but no, this
seems like something we would make up for this show as a bit, is how insane it reads.
It feels like if somebody tried to make like a fucking cartoon, like Adult Swim version of Scooby-Doo, like this would be a plot line. You know what I mean?
Have you watched that Velma show?
It's too silly, but it's also like very gravely serious at the same time.
Well, yeah, no, this is insane for a ton of reasons. Also, I thought that, I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong, is estrogen not hard to acquire? Like if it was easier to acquire, I think that would make a lot of people's fucking lifetimes.
I'll give you that. Yes, I assume it's not extremely easy to acquire, but like, I don't know the situation of this individual. You know, maybe he was stealing it from somebody else. Like, this is a shady character. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's playing by the rules,
right?
You know? He might be like sneaking it from a family member or something, you know, and then cutting it into pre-workout and then gifting it to his bandmates. Steal his fiance. This is fucking
so
insane.
Many parties affected. Nuts, just absolutely nuts.
Could you imagine if he'd gotten away with it? Could you fucking imagine? Could you imagine? Could you fucking imagine if he'd gotten away with it? It would be like one of the most insane fucking cons of all time. Like insane fucking cons.
He would have never gotten away with it based on how he outed himself.
You're right. Clearly they're too fucking stupid to have gotten away with it. But like for a little while, they were getting away with it.
Well,
you know what I mean? So the guilt of...
I don't know if I think this is more of like a pride thing. It's like, dog, I'm playing the craziest bit right now.
Fair point. Mark's Patreon questions this week. Melvin asks, favorite band aesthetic, i.e. deep V-neck, 21 Pilots and Sleep Token smothering themselves in black paint, etc.
I don't know if it's an aesthetic or not.
Yeah.
But like just the way that Boston Manor wears their beanies.
Okay.
It should be studied.
Marcus's favorite aesthetic is the way Boston Manor wears their beanies.
It's just, God.
Good answer.
Damn.
It's a good answer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a big fan of obviously like the Sleep Token 21 Pilots thing. I like the fancy dress, you know, like I like some Eminence. I like how they dress, Thornhill, how they dress.
I'm really into formal core too, like the nice shoes and like the gold necklace and the all black that like Dayseeker's doing, that kind of shit.
Dayseeker, they added like a little extra sauce to that with like the glittery makeup too.
Yeah. I'm also
like that goes a long way for sure.
Good aesthetics, strong aesthetics.
I love like some eyeliner type stuff. Like that's fun. Any other aesthetics?
Those feel like the go with the ones that
I
first
really
come to
think
mind.
anytime
Those have to be
like
the ones, right?
Like masked anything is really fun.
No, I don't know about that. I wouldn't say masked anything. Like,
what do you mean?
There's some good like I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of stupid fucking masks in this scene. And then, like, I feel like I've seen more bad ones than good ones.
There's a difference between, like, Ghost and Hollywood Undead. Like, I think one of those projects does it much better.
We'll let you figure out which one.
Do the math.
Caillou asked, best band name ever.
I think I've long maintained that my favorite band name ever is probably Scary Kids Scaring Kids.
Do you know that's based off of like I think it's like a song by another hardcore band?
I didn't know that.
I think they're called Cap and Jazz. I remember reading this like way back when.
Alternatively, one of my least favorite, Cap and Jazz.
Okay, yeah, funny enough.
I don't like that name whatsoever. There's just a lot of like
band name.
There's definitely a lot of solid ones, and I think I don't know if they stood the test of time, but anytime I think of like what are my favorite band names, it's older ones, you know, like I like Bullet for My Valentine. I think that one's just like, just something about that one does it for me. AFI. You've got the simple version, just the 3 letters. Alternatively, though, you could say A Fire Inside, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I think that one works pretty well. The Used is fucking tight. It's always been good, you know? Poison the Well. Never really loved that
I
band.
feel like you're kind of all over the place, to be honest.
But like,
you just kind of like,
there's some good ones. There's a difference though, because
like band names is kind of what I'm taking away from all this.
because there's like bad band names too. You know, like I could tell you like
bad band names.
Like as much as I like the band, Danger Kids, not a great band name.
Interesting. Weird to take a shot at Danger Kids, who have been fucking out of
defunct,
the limelight for
right?
years.
Well, but like just as they come to me, like I go back and forth on band names like Whitechapel. Like I don't know if that's a good one or a bad one. You know, like does that really get the point across? Alternatively, like I'm wearing their beanie right now, Chelsea Grin. That's an A1 band name.
I'm trying to think if there's only one in particular that has really like stuck out to me, like something that is like I liked the band because I first liked the name of the band. And nothing
Sleeping with Sirens, bad band name. While She Sleeps, better band name.
Interesting. Very interesting.
She Must Burn was a good one too for a long time.
She Must Burn was a
I fucked with that one. Make Them Suffer. I know the band doesn't like that one, but goddamn, is that one tight.
Holding Absence is a name that I've always been incredibly fond of.
Something about it, like it just kind of...
It tells you everything in just the band name, right? Like it communicates like literally the entire story of the band. Yeah, that's it. Shitty band names, a million of them. Could go on all day. Some bands just like, every older like punk band is like Goldfinger. Shut up. Marcos, before we get into reviews, we are incredibly excited to premiere a clip from the brand new The Devil Wears Prada song Ritual, which is coming this Friday. Check it out.
Know your future. Give up your games.
This song will have a brand new music video, Marcus, that is absolutely gorgeous. I think this track carries on the style that they sort of like exploded back onto the scene with Color Decay, that made the Devil Wears Prada kind of like rise to prominence once again. I think it's bigger, but it's got that same vibe to it.
Yeah, familiar, but like, man, do we keep perfecting this newly discovered sound, I guess.
It's crazy for me to see the second life of a band like the Devil Wears Prada, who I think sound better than they ever have this deep into their career, and they continue to now build upon this new style that they've introduced to the band and make it sound even better than before.
And that's out when?
Friday, March 8th. Get excited for that. Mars, let's talk about some albums.
The Breakdown.
There is a Place for Me on Earth by Defocus. Defocus are a 4-piece metalcore band from southern Germany composed of members guitarist Jeffrey Ullman, drummer Jonas Mahler, vocalist Simon Muller, and bassist Marcel Bam Bam Heberling. There's a Place for Me on Earth follows up the band's 2021 debut record, In the Eye of Death, We Are All the Same. A bit of a mouthful, but it fucking hits.
It's also like right in line with this new album as well. This band likes a mouthful of an album title.
The band note was written over extensive late night online sessions during the COVID-19 pandemic and accompanying lockdown. The album was produced by Wojciech Pasensi, who's recently worked with Aviana, Distant, and Abyfall. So a lot of great bands there. There's a Place for Me on Earth arrives via a Rising Empire. Is 10 tracks long and runs approximately 32 minutes. So half hour there.
That's right. Marcus, let me go first.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly fond of this record. I think this is a very, very...
Let me stop you. Me too.
Perfect, bro. We're right on the same fucking page. Let's get right into it then. I think what works so well about this is that sonically, this band is so impactful and everything hits with such a weight to it that I could not help but find myself incredibly compelled by every song, regardless of whatever the subject matter was, whatever was being spoken to me lyrically. I was absolutely hooked by the instrumentation and how well produced it was and how raw it sounded. It just, for me, was is a quintessential metalcore release this year.
There's like an impressive fullness to the instrumentation, the production. It's just a hearty meal is what it feels like.
And it all's like cranked up to 11. So every time it hits like a fucking, like one of those fucking concrete wrecking balls.
Are they made of concrete? I don't think
I'm almost certain.
I think they're just made of like metal.
They're made of concrete. I'm like 99.9% sure.
No, you don't destroy concrete with concrete.
It's a stronger concrete though. It's called adamantium.
Oh yeah.
And you've never heard of it before.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We're only reviewing 2 albums this week, but this one is by far my favorite of the 2.
Yeah, far and away much better.
It checks every box for me. Like you said, of course, really strong instrumentation, really strong production, but that's not where it ends. You've got really memorable moments. Whether those are riffs, breakdowns, lyrics in general. You've got strong choruses throughout. There's just like you said, there's also this rawness that's present that
it makes everything feel so much more impactful.
Yeah, I'm naturally drawn closer to this band as a result too. Like it
feels genuine.
Yeah,
authentic.
So it makes songs like, Don't Let It Hurt Me, and especially the closing track, which is the title track, There's a Place for Me on Earth, just that much more, I don't know, they sink their teeth that much deeper into you,
Mm-hmm. That quote about how they wrote their first album during the COVID pandemics, a lot of late night sessions, a lot of significant thought put into their debut album. I feel like they approached the sophomore release with that exact same mindset because everything feels so incredibly well considered, like especially on the production end. Like everything is brought in to just like slightly elevate the proceedings in a way that really makes it like explode from the speakers, right? None of it feels like a crutch that they're leaning on. It just feels like more window dressing to just like make everything just perfect.
Yeah. And I think over time, this record just gets better and better song by song. I was really impressed with this. I mean, I didn't have like a ton of expectations coming into it, but like it really caught me off guard.
I want to say an individual track that really stood out to me was Hybrid Anthem featuring 1RF. 1RF is short for One Red Fox. And according to their Spotify bio, they were a rising alternative hip hop artist hailing from the city of New Orleans. I think their mishmash to create a sort of metalcore or new metalcore, this metal meets hip hop styling works incredibly well. And I think they just managed to meld the two perfectly.
Alternatively, on the other side of the spectrum, that's probably my least favorite track on here.
Interesting. What is it about it that didn't really click for you?
It's not really because
it's like a style thing for you. It just didn't work.
No, because I like new metalcore, and I like this feature from One Red Fox. But by the time that song was over, it did not do for me what the songs around it did, especially coming right from Don't Let It Hurt Me, which is like probably my favorite or second favorite track on here, like I stated earlier.
That run for me of Crooked Mind, Don't Let It Hurt Me, Hybrid Anthem was fucking amazing, personally.
Also throw in like a Watch Me Bleed, which happens a little sooner on the album, and there's a lot to like on this one.
I cannot reiterate enough that the only proper way to listen to this album is with your speakers turned all the way up. Like literally let it vibrate your house or your car or fucking wherever you are.
Your skull.
Your skull, right? That's precisely correct. Also a real big fan of the artwork, Marcus, before we get into our scores, which is like somebody fell into the snow and or the void and left like an imprint of their body. Not exactly sure what the metaphor is meant to communicate other than like you leaving your mark on this earth, maybe. I'm not entirely sure.
That's your place on earth. It's
Maybe it's all right there, and I figured it out sitting here and discussing it.
It's like that Junji Ito comic where they just see the shape of themselves on like the side of like this giant cavernous like mountain thing, and they're like, that's my hole, and they start walking through it until they get to the other side of the mountain, and they come out. Well, I'm not going to spoil it.
This is
but
a point of reference where you lost me on the way there.
it's a cool one. It's you should read this one when you get a chance.
Okay. What would you score this?
I'm probably right at like an 8 on this one. Like
Right
a very
there with you.
light 8.
Right there with you.
Yeah.
I think it's incredibly enjoyable. Stands out above similar bands. You know, I think this is almost right in line with that Bloom record that we talked about recently, where it's just like
Sure.
it's got like a real heart to it. It's got a real grit to it, and it really pops. And I think it does a good job of like bringing in some like unique elements to make it stand out from the pack.
Totally.
What else did we listen to, Marcos?
Exit Emotions by Blind Channel.
When the end of the world is yesterday close, happy doomsday to ya.
Blind Channel, if you're not familiar, are a 6-piece new metal band from Finland. We don't talk about Finland as much as I think we could. Composed of members vocalist Joel Hokla and Nico Wilhelm Molinen.
Obviously, apologies if we mispronounce
Yes,
anybody's
of
name
course.
throughout the course of this episode.
Like I said, we don't talk about Finland enough. I can't get my
Finnish names and German names
pronunciation.
are not things that come naturally to you and I.
Guitarist Jonas Porco, bassist Ollie Matella, drummer Tommy Lawley, and DJ/percussionist Alexei Konisevsky, which I think I actually nailed.
You did an all right job.
Exit Emotions is the band's 5th full-length album, following up 2022's Lifestyles of the Sick and Dangerous. Shout out Good Charlotte? Kind of similar vibe.
Rich and the Famous.
Yeah.
Lifestyles of the Sick and the Day. Yeah.
Yeah.
This band, and I've noticed it throughout this album as well, Exit Emotions, does like their little turn of phrases and stuff
a lot
like
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
You get it like immediately on the opening track. Just a little more here. Lifestyles of the Sick and Dangerous features hit single Dark Side, which the band performed during the 2021 Eurovision Song Contest, wherein they ultimately placed a very respectable 6th place.
Yeah, there's at least like 20 European countries, so 6 is pretty solid.
Per an interview with Chaos Zine, the band were quoted as saying...
Zine.
I miss Vine, bro. Chaos Zine, the band were quoted as saying, "Our goal is to get big in the U.S. with Exit Emotions." Lofty goals, Sam. Exit Emotions arrives via Century Media Records, is 12 tracks long, and runs for approximately 35 minutes. I don't think we reviewed this band's
No, we did not review
previous
Sick and
4
Dangerous.
albums.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was actually surprised to find out that this was their 5th release. I thought Sick and Dangerous was their debut record based on, you know, the whole Eurovision, that record being the first time that I had really heard about this band. So when I went and pulled this information for this episode, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize they had 3 other albums, which I'm very much curious to hear what they sound like. Because I get the impression that this band is doing things that is tailored to get them a certain audience and help them broaden into a bigger, you know, they said it themselves. We want to get bigger in the US. This feels like an album that is very much
a big territory
with that explicit like idea behind it. And I'm curious what their like first 3 albums sound like. I did listen to Sick and Dangerous for the record. I didn't love it. Though it did have a couple of songs I like. Dark Side in particular, I think is a pretty catchy track.
Okay. I think this record can be best described as empty calories.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's cotton candy, it's popcorn, it's your favorite chocolate bar. It's fun in the moment.
My thoughts on this are broad, but I'll let you keep going.
Yeah,
but they're very similar.
So I'm not going to deny that I have a really great time listening to some of the music on here. If there's one thing I could say about this band, it's that they are never boring. Are they always good? Not really.
I'll push back on that, but I'll let you finish.
It's like a more contained version of when we've said on this show in the past, like, hey, at least it's fun to listen to in the sense that, like, they're always constantly throwing something at the wall. Will it stick? Not all the time. So, like, there's tracks on here like Where's the Exit, Dead Zone, which I think was the lead single, that really do it for me. And I'm having fun with them, and they're just a good time, and they have, like, really snappy production and cool little riffs that really keep the song, you know, trucking along. And then you hit something like Wolves in California, and it's just a really hollow song, and the lyrics are not what you need them to be in any capacity. And then you get to XOXO, which features From Ashes to New, and while that's not really a particularly great song, I think the chorus is outstanding, and I think it's really catchy. And Keeping It Surreal is then maybe my favorite track on here, while also recognizing some of the lyrics also suck on that one. So there's this real, like, constant back and forth of, am I having a good time? Not always. Am I ever really bored, though? No. Like, I'm always sort of excited to see what's going to happen next, while knowing I might be turned off to that next song.
Yeah, I mean, in the same way
that's what I
like,
mean when I say I'm never really bored.
In the same way that bright flashing lights will always grab my attention, I don't necessarily think that that's because there's anything really entertaining or well considered about them. I think for the vast majority of this record, it falls completely flat. I think you've actually been very kind overall. So I would say lyrically, it's a flat out miss from start to finish. And I think that so much of, like, the overly tackled subject matter of the modern rock era bubbles up in this record constantly. You know, we're talking about, I mean, even in little ways, like metal bands who sing about wolves has gotten tired. Singing
California.
about scars on your body being artwork has gotten tired. Saying, like, overly familiar lines like it's always darkest before the dawn could not be more tired.
We're also
lyrically, this is completely washed.
We're highlighting actual not trash lyrics, because there's some, like, I think at some point the vocalist calls themselves a blowfish on, like, the opening track.
And there's also, like, there's stupid things like
Hocus
motherfucking-lations.
Hocus
like,
pocus, I lose focus, or something like that.
So that's when you would then turn and hope that sonically this band had something to offer which could mitigate that, and they have absolutely nothing to contribute, not a single unique idea. I think that generally for a new metal band, all of the metal aspects of this band hit like a fucking warm embrace from your grandmother. There's absolutely nothing heavy or impactful about any of the metal here. It's been so overproduced to the point that all of its hard edges have been completely dulled, with the intention of reaching as broad an audience as possible. So, you know, I will, and I have said in the past, that within the ecosystem of rock and metal, I think there does exist a space for bands like this who are meant to be gateways into the genre. But I'm starting to think to myself, I wonder if continuing to put bands like this in the forefront of the space is actually significantly more detrimental than it is helpful. I would rather start getting people excited about this genre for the new and interesting things that it's doing than the boring, reiterated, like reheated ideas that a lot of these bands on SiriusXM and the rock charts are bringing to the space. I'm starting to back off from this, and I think that this being metal and rock that's being served to people is why metal and rock continues to be something that is not making waves in the broader culture in any significant way.
No, I think that last bit's off the mark a bit.
How so?
I think that the rock genre is experiencing a renaissance that is impacting a wider scale audience than
I think
we've been used to.
I think it's getting bigger, but I think it would be absolutely off. It would be silly to say that it has any of the reverence currently right now that pop, country, and hip hop have maintained. I think rock is still a distant part of the conversation.
I don't disagree.
That's my point, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you that artists like Sleep Token and Bad Omens and Spirit Box are certainly making a name for Knocked Loose are making a name for themselves within the space. But none of these bands are headlining the biggest festivals in the world, you know, outside of explicitly metal and rock festivals. You know what I mean? And I think a band like Blind Channel essentially writes an album like this so that they are a part of the broader conversation. They put out an album like this because they want to be considered in the same breath as bands like Linkin Park or Disturbed or say like...
I think this is more a play to appeal to like the Papa Roach audience.
Sure, but aren't those all similar styled bands? This band is going to be opening for POD. I think that's generally the audience that they're chasing.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense though. If you're going to open for POD, this is the sort of album you put out. I'm not saying that I'm
right, but in terms of rock and metal, doesn't that bore you? Like, don't you lose a lot of your enthusiasm for the genre when you're served an album like this?
So this is a 3 out of 10 for me. I want to establish that. But I think my approach is much less cynical than yours. Yours feels very jaded.
You're where I used to be. And then ultimately, the longer I sat and thought about this record, the more I realized that it just really did not have anything significant to offer. There's a few songs on here I like. I think this band can write a hook, no doubt. I think Keeping It Surreal, Die Another Day, maybe most specifically because Rory, the feature on that, absolutely kills it, and Phobia are good examples of this band writing catchy songs. But like, bands who can write catchy songs are a dime a dozen. And I think that like production wise and like any of like the sonic elements just fall completely flat. There's just nothing here. There's nothing I walk away from this and say like, man, only Blind Channel could have done this. No, all of these things are things that I Prevail does better. They're things that Motionless in White does better. The thing that Electric Callboy does better.
On Flatline, yeah. Flatline's a weird like outlier on here that's super Electric Callboy, and it just does not.
But I think that bringing in some level of Euro dance music elements could have probably made this significantly more interesting.
I don't disagree that there are many better albums in this that we could have gotten, but I guess where I get hung up is like, I think there's also a place for music like this.
Sure,
in the sense that it doesn't have to be completely expelled.
This is going to blow your fucking mind.
No,
like,
sure.
I would hand this album to a 7-year-old as their introduction to rock and metal, and this might go on to, and if that's where you're looking to like cement yourself into the scene and then maybe build from there, fine, I can understand that. But like, I'm not going to sit
just get
here
caught
and
up
pretend
is
this isn't anything other than one of the most like overproduced hollow rock records I've heard so far this year.
The thing that bothers me about this whole discussion is that I'm not far off from where you are.
I know, and I'm just being a little more negative and a little more cynical about it. But truthfully, I think that I'm just really over this.
You kind of talked about it first. So like, this is, for me, this is better than that Asking album last year. This is miles better than that From Ashes to New album, which was god awful. No place for that record.
I think miles is kind of you. I think this album is slightly better than those records. I think that
it's better than that last Papa Roach album by a mile.
Sure. Like all of those things, but it's like nowhere near as good as any other album I've heard this year.
I'm just saying, for what we ultimately got and for what this band ultimately is, there's some okay stuff in here. It's mostly bad. I don't recommend it. It's probably a 3 out of 10 because there's a couple songs on here that I don't mind. I do really think it starts off with probably two of its strongest tracks in Where's the Exit and Dead Zone, and then it quickly goes way all over the place for the entirety of the rest of the record.
I think that if you want to shut your brain off and listen to a handful of these songs, you'll be fine.
Empty Calories, like I said.
I don't think this record is... I don't think this record is bad. It's just like brutally uninteresting.
But that's what I mean when I say Empty Calories. It's that like...
I'm with you.
I can listen to this.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to fucking... It's not going to ruin my day.
It didn't hurt. Sure.
But like, am I ever taking this over 99% of the other albums we discuss on this show? No, I'm not.
We're talking about recommending something to an audience, like telling them, hey, go take the time out of your day to go check something out. Can't do it with this one. Absolutely not. I think your time is better spent with so many other records that came out. I'm sorry.
Catch them on tour this summer with POD.
I mean, it's like I want to like a band like Blind Channel. I've heard some of like again, a couple of these songs are really catchy, but over the course of an album, like to have really nothing interesting to offer is just like an incredible failing of your audience, I think, personally.
The news.
Marcus, as always, the news is brought to you by Shibori Threads, the clothing label of the alternative music scene. 21 Pilots have returned with new single Overcompensate.
Don't hesitate to maybe overcompensate, and then by the time I catch you in my peripheral.
New album Clancy releases May 17th via Fueled by Ramen and is the follow-up to 2021's Scaled and Icy. The album is the final chapter in a long-spanning narrative beginning with 2015's Blurry Face and will presumably end with this newly announced upcoming album. Quickly, I will share some of the bullet points and major players within the story sourced from a post in r/21pilots from user Goodboa. I'll share the link for that in the description of this episode. It's a very impressive summation of the narrative that I'm essentially going to pare down to the bone for the sake of brevity. Clancy is a character played by Tyler Joseph, a rebel, a writer, member of the Bandidos, lives in the city of Dima, which is a city on the continent of Trench, which is the name of one of their albums, which the Bandidos are attempting to overthrow, and this was originally detailed in the album Blurry Face. Clancy escaped Dima during Trench and runs a website where they share letters about the city. Torchbearer is a character played by drummer Josh Dunn, also a member of the Bandidos, who currently resides on the island of Voltsoy, where Clancy currently is staying alongside a nation of Neds, seen in the video for The Outside from the album Scaled and Icy. If you're unaware, the album name Scaled and Icy is an anagram for Clancy is Dead. Nico is Blurry Face, and also the 9 bishops all at once who rule the city of Dima. Where we last left off, Clancy was set to travel back to Dima and be used as a weapon against them, which brings us to now. Prior to the release of this new song and music video, Marks, we received a teaser in the form of a 4-minute clip titled I Am Clancy, which finds our protagonist reading aloud one of their letters to the audience detailing their current situation as well as a briefer on the lore. This culminated a week later with the first new single, Overcompensate, Marcus. Additionally, it's been confirmed that Overcompensate will be the opening track on 21 Pilots' upcoming, but as of yet unannounced headlining tour. We'll pause there. First thing I want to know, let's get right out in the open. Did you like Overcompensate?
Yeah, Sam, I'll answer your question. I still do not give a single fuck about any of the lore regarding 21 Pilots. None of this is compelling for me whatsoever.
Complete turn from last time we spoke about this. I'm actually deeply into this. I find it really interesting, and I think it scratches the itch that's been missing from my life ever since we passed the wave of young adult fiction. I'm talking the era of Hunger Games, Marcos.
Maze Runner.
The fucking help me out. What the fuck else?
Maze Runner.
Maze Runner once again. Yes, that's correct. I'm not gonna lie. I like this kind of end of the world, evil forces trying to keep
Sure. In theory, I like some of the idea here, but I feel like the execution as far as sonically, I don't hear any of this when I listen to their music, and that's where I get caught up. I listen to the fucking Saturday. I don't remember what the fucking song goes like. So
interestingly enough, I feel like where you're coming at this from is that, in a sense, even though you're uninterested in the lore, you're saying if the band actually leaned in harder on it, it's almost like you wish they sold it to you.
Yes, Sam, because I listen to fucking 21 Pilots and I've never heard them refer to Dima in any real capacity. There's no song called fucking Welcome Back to Dina. Here we are in Dina and we're talking all about Dina. No, we're just saying oh, Dina, by the way, exists. You'll have caught that if you fucking rearrange the letters of the first 4 songs on this new album. No, I wouldn't have, guys, because no one fucking thinks to do that. Also, Nico, like that's way over convoluted. I can tell you that much. He's blurry face, 9 bishops. He runs Dina. I'm so lost. It's stupid. It's dumb. I don't like any of it. But if they wrote a song actually explaining any of this, and none of their songs were just, oh, I'm stressed out or it's Saturday, then yeah, this would all be great. But they don't do any of that. There's no song called Torchbearer.
I understand where you're coming from. That
None of it is reflective in the music.
I wouldn't say none of it. I wouldn't say
Outside of
none
like
of it.
a lyric here or there.
I understand what you're saying is that maybe you would be more enthusiastic about this if it was front and center. I don't disagree. Everyone's
excited about being welcomed back to Trench. I never even thought Trench was that significant in any of this anyway. But here we are. Trench is a continent, by the way. Didn't know that. I thought it was a fucking bird.
I didn't know we were telling a story over like 4 albums either. And I understand what you mean. Is you're right. Maybe if all of this was more at the forefront and it wasn't in this exact point of time that we were learning about all of this, I would have been more on the edge of my seat for the release of like a brand new song outside of just like, whatever my general adoration is for like the style of music that 21 Pilots makes. I'm with you.
It's like if Hunger Games was about someone who worked at like a fucking gas station, but like, oh, I'm just supposed to understand that like they go and compete in these games and there's this magical city called the Capitol. And it's like, no, you work at a gas station. Let's just call it what it is.
I think in a lot of ways, maybe you're right. If all of this maybe would have been a lot more interesting if it was like the core focus of everything that they were doing. But obviously, like as casual listeners, most of this goes completely over our head. And it's only when I went and dug into all of it that I realized that there was so much happening in the background for the most part.
My Chemical Romance goes and does this shit. They have like a radio station song committed to like giving me lore.
But when I go and I read all of this, when I went and I read everything, that is when I became much more interested. So what I'm saying is that you wish that it was being served to you, but I'm telling you, if you actually went out of your way to go and look into all of it, there is a lot of interesting elements.
Pause though. Now, do you go and listen to anything 21 Pilots has ever written and look at it differently? Like, can you put any of those pieces together yourself?
I think what it's done is
does it all fall into place? Does it make more sense?
Moving forward, it's made me a lot more interested in what they were doing because suddenly I was watching the video for Overcompensate in a completely different way than I normally would. Like suddenly because I had gone and done the legwork, this video had a certain level of context and it made me much more interested. And it did make other older videos feel more interesting. Like the stuff from Skilled and Icy that like generally maybe I wasn't that invested in is now more interesting by virtue of the fact that it did have more context than I originally picked up on. I will say that. So
yeah, but without the videos
that,
where I get hung up on. Without the videos, there's nothing.
I don't know that there's nothing. Because the truth is like how much time have you spent poring over any of the lyrics for like 21 Pilots songs?
I'm just saying, for something with this much deep lore, like Elden Ring level lore, Game of Thrones level lore, it should be a lot more apparent.
It would be a lot more exciting if it was at the forefront. I do agree with you. It is even funny in a song like this when Tyler's singing about like wearing an Adidas tracksuit or whatever, and I'm like, so Adidas exists?
Right, that's what I mean. Also, for the record, I actually really enjoy this new song.
I fucking loved this. I couldn't believe how much I loved this song, to be honest.
It feels like a slight return to form, and I liked a couple of the songs on Skilled and Icy, but I'm not going to lie.
Were solid.
That album did not do it for me and a lot of other people, and you
Overall,
included.
the album was a tough sit. It was a tough sit. But again, did like the lead singles. I think I like this one more than all of those personally.
Yeah.
You're right. It just feels like they're sliding back into something that just naturally suited them to begin with, and also makes them kind of stand out from everybody else in a way that like is really exciting. Like this feels like 21 Pilots to me. Skilled and Icy didn't feel like, at the very least, a 21 Pilots that I was like genuinely interested in like listening to.
Yeah. But
this is much more my speed. Like even the way they present themselves is like much more my speed. Like they've got fucking hip hop aesthetic elements back in the band that like is the reason that I found them like kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that was
even in
really
like their
missed.
movements and like the way that like they carry themselves, the way they dress. Like I think all of that is so much more interesting than like, you know, whatever I remember from like the Outside video or the one where they're in the submarine and get attacked by a Kraken or whatever.
Yeah, and those are fun videos, but like, also, do Krakens exist?
They do, actually. The whole submarine is like he escaped from...
What's the submarine's name?
I don't know the submarine's name.
I thought everything had to have a name in this universe.
It probably does, just because I can't recall
What's the
it
Kraken's
from
name?
the top of my fucking memory. Fuck you was the Kraken's name.
What, like, if I
Ironically.
rearrange the letters, what does it turn
Ironically.
into? Kevin? Like,
Well, I think there is I think if you're willing to do the legwork, and the time I spent doing a little bit of that legwork made me a lot more excited for 21
I'm
Pilots
not doing
than I've
7
been.
days of leg days, bro.
It didn't take fucking 7 days. It took me like 45 minutes. Like, it's not the end of the fucking universe. I'm sure there's a YouTube video
No,
out
no,
there that
this
probably could have
sounds-
filled in the blanks for you.
No, because like, so look away from the
Probably
screen.
dozens.
Like, I feel like I need index cards to like remember all of this
Who's
shit.
supposed to
I feel
look
like
away
I'm
from the
studying
screen?
for fucking school again.
How do you watch movies? With your eyes closed?
It's not a movie. This ain't a movie.
I think what I'm saying is that, like, now's the time. This is the end. To
Like, I
embrace
like this.
universe. Like, it's not too late.
I like that it feels like they are re-embracing this universe, because I feel like they sort of lost sight of that on Scaled and Icy, even though apparently that means Clancy is dead. Because, like, yeah, they do walk a little different suddenly again. And, like, I don't know if it's because they lost sight of what ultimately... And I think the fans noticed that as well. Like, a lot of people, even their fans, were certainly down on Scaled and Icy.
It does feel like Scaled and Icy was probably their most poorly received record, far and away.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. How do you feel about Tyler Joseph in particular in this video? Because I think he has a really fucking incredible presence. In very
Honestly,
little ways.
him and Josh Dunn really sell me on how much I actually do really like 21 Pilots. Like, I kind of always forget that, like, I really kind of fuck with everything.
Very
about this
compelling,
band
very
outside of the
watchable
lore.
act. This does bring me to a question, though. One of our patrons, Casey, asked, with the release of the new 21 Pilots single and album announcement pivoting back closer to the style from Blurryface and Trench, do you think that maybe Skylar, who is ex-Issues and a touring member of the band and has appeared in multiple videos, and the other backing band members are going to be a part of it, all like they were for the last record, appearing in videos, performing live, etc.? Or are we back to it really just being Tyler and Joseph? Marcus, I guess it's kind of hard for me to say.
Have you ever tried to rearrange the letters in Skylar's name? Let me tell you about Lurksy. Maybe that's what I'm mad about here is I didn't see Skylar once, and Skylar just like instantly puts a smile on my face. But
I wouldn't rule them out completely. I don't see any reason why they couldn't appear. Maybe they won't, also depending if they fit within the concept of the narrative or whatever exactly 21 Pilots is trying to get across here.
also, considering Issues is now officially dead, I would expect that Skylar is still doing stuff with 21 Pilots.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, you know, hey.
I don't think that's a short-sighted decision.
That tour is coming, even though it hasn't been officially announced. You know, Tyler Joseph, I think, was speaking to BBC and said, like, hey, Overcompensate's going to open it. I feel like based on, like, that little intro you get going into, like, the full-length version of Overcompensate, not the radio edit, that it works incredibly well.
What's
as, like,
the
an
radio
opening
edit? Does it
track.
cut out, like, the first minute of this track?
I believe that's exactly what it is, right? Like,
that's fucked up.
We do what radio edits do and get rid of anything that doesn't immediately scream at an audience.
Well,
you know
it's
what I mean?
funny. The first time I listened to the song, I thought the first minute was it could have been done away with, and then the second and third time I heard it, I was like, oh, this is actually my favorite part of the song.
I like the build. I
Yeah.
like the build a lot.
It's a nice build.
For what it's worth, by the way, and I know you're kind of out on this whole lore thing, that 4-minute teaser does, like, not a terrible job of, like, filling in a lot of the blanks in a way that's just enough to get you to where you need to be.
4-minute teaser.
Yeah, it was called I Am Clancy. They released it, like, a week before this came out.
Doc, I didn't see that.
Okay, well, you should have watched it and done the bare minimum.
Did
to
you watch
prepare.
it?
Yeah, I watched it. And then I went and read about all these fucking things. And then, like, I put together, like, yeah, I came prepared. Yes, as a matter of fact. Fall Out Boy, I've dropped the official music video for So Much for Stardust. Starring Jimmy Butler, a.k.a. Heat Wentz. Fashioned as an emo cowboy, the song is the 4th song off the album to receive a single and music video treatment, following Love from the Other Side, Hold Me Like a Grudge, and Heartbreak Feels So Good, not including the bolted-on edition of the cover of We Didn't Start the Fire. which as far as I'm concerned, just should be wiped from existence.
Bolted on
literally,
edition.
like if I could blip that song out of fucking existence, I would. That's how much I dislike that fucking cover. Jimmy Butler's inclusion comes after the NBA star appeared donning the classic emo cut during NBA Media Day back in October of 2023. At the time, he told a room full of snickering reporters that day, and I quote, "I'm very emotional right now. This is my emo state, and I like this. This is me." Fall Out Boy are currently on the second leg of the So Much for Tour Dust with direct support from Jimmy Eat World on all dates, and The Main, Hot Mulligan, Games We Play, Daisy Grenade, and Car varying by certain dates. So Much for Stardust sold 64,000 units in its first week, netting the band its 7th top 10 Billboard charting album, and lead single Love from the Other Side was the band's first #1 alternative single, beating out Dance Dance, which peaked at #2 at the time of release.
Damn.
That's crazy to hear, right? Because in your mind, and maybe they have like another #1 single somewhere that just got put in a different chart that wasn't like alternative.
It had to have happened, right?
Because you got to think like Centuries didn't go #1. Like,
right. Centuries 100% did go #1.
well,
Somewhere.
what's the My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark? It's
Yeah.
like, really? This is fascinating. But like specifically in the alternative charts,
Fair enough. I mean, Love from the Other Side was always sort of pitched as a return to an older era of this band. So
Yeah.
it all makes sense.
Marcus,
Listen,
talk to me about Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler, okay? This is my favorite timeline that like we could have ever ended in. Jimmy Butler shows up to Media Day with the emo bangs.
You couldn't have dreamt a better timeline than
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler going emo.
And then suddenly we have a new name. Well, it was Heat Wentz.
Heat Wentz.
Heat Wentz. Fuck the Heat, by the way. Heat Wentz. Just not Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, aside. That's an aside.
And now we're suddenly just in like a Fall Out Boy video. Like Fall Out Boy is brilliant at times. Like them and their team, brilliant for seeing this.
Getting in on the joke before it had become significantly too old to matter. We're still waiting for that seemingly Blink-182 video of the playing at Denny's that we haven't quite gotten yet.
I forgot that might come. We'll see.
We'll say.
Yeah, I think everything about this is awesome. Jimmy Butler does a great job in the video. Looks like he's having an awesome time. He's in this full purple and yellowish
Sparkly
cowboy tux
outfit. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's great. And then Pete Wentz comes in and like that long hair is starting to grow on me.
It's starting to grow on me as well. It
took
grown,
5
It's grown on
years.
Pete Wentz quite a bit as well.
And then seeing them together, like I know Jimmy Butler's like 6'5", 6'6", whatever.
Yeah, and Pete
but
Wentz is like
goddamn,
3'8" or something.
I wouldn't have been in those shots if I was Pete Wentz.
Yeah, that was brutal. They should have done that thing where you put him on a stool and then you like cut the bottom half out. I think what really sold me about this is that they have Jimmy Butler mouthing the lyrics as like almost as if he's performing the song himself. It's what really puts it over the edge for me.
Right.
It's like Jimmy
Jimmy's-
Butler's not only here, he went to singing this song to
Right.
us.
It's that actual commitment to the bit. It's awesome.
The commitment to the bit is what works the most about this. 100%.
Well, right, and like how much of a bit is it really? Like a dude's in a fucking Fall Out Boy video now. Like he's as I see it, he's on the emo what do we call it? The where we have the presidents.
Mount Rushmore.
He's on the emo Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
He's there with Pete Wentz. Who else is there? Like Gerard Way, maybe?
Pete Wentz, Gerard Way, Jimmy Butler, per you, and Haley Williams.
Yeah. that tracks.
Brendan Urie, somewhere at the bottom of
Buried
a ravine.
beneath it.
Dr. Lewis hit us with new single Blinding Faith. After teasing fans with an ominous billboard and Brian Garris riling up the metalcore community with a choice quote in an interview with Kerrang, which we discussed on a recent episode of SOTS Deluxe, which you can get on patreon.com/SOTS podcast for the low cost of only $3 a month. The band have debuted the lead single from upcoming new album, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To, dropping May 10th via Pure Noise Records. It'll follow last year's standalone singles Deep in the Willow and Everything is Quiet Now from acclaimed 2021 EP A Tear in the Fabric of Life, and is the first full-length album for the band since 2019's A Different Shade of Blue.
Can't believe it's been 5 years.
5 fucking years, Marco. Some notes from the official press release from the band and Pure Noise Records. Knocked Loose wrote close to 40 songs across a span of 4 years before locking in the 10 tracks that feature on the new album. 40 songs in 4 years.
That's light work for some bands.
The title of the album originates from an experience that vocalist Brian Garris, who suffers from what he calls a borderline phobia of flying, had during a particularly trying flight. As he battled his nerves during takeoff, the vocalist found himself talking to a woman seated next to him. When he confided in her about his anxiety, she said, Marcos, brace yourself. You won't go before you're supposed to.
Goddamn.
Speaking on, as of yet, have not heard track Don't Reach For Me, which will be on the album. Lyrically, Garris says that track may be the meanest song I've ever written. A seismic takedown of someone who tried their hardest to come into my life and mess with 2 of the 3 closest people I have. Guitarist Isaac Hill on the band's collaboration with Poppy on track Suffocate. It was so fun because it allowed us to expand the palette a little bit and do some weird off-the-wall things that we maybe wouldn't do in another song. We felt that because we had Poppy's voice involved, it allowed us to kind of push the boundaries of what we thought was feasible. Hale also spoke to the general direction of the album, mimicking a quote from that same Kerrang interview, Marcos. On this album, we go the fastest we've ever gone. We go the scariest we've ever gone. It was also the catchiest and most melodic that we've ever gone. And that's the point. Instead of branching off into a specific direction, we want to encompass all directions. The album is produced by Drew Folk, who worked with the band on last year's standalone singles, as well as having worked in the past with Motionless in White to produce the Brian Garris featured Slaughterhouse, among other songs, of which a sequel is set to appear on this new album, now instead featuring Chris Motionless.
Slaughterhouse 2.
Precisely correct. The band also announced a Target exclusive edition of their upcoming vinyl, further cementing their move into the hemisphere of popular culture alongside recent performances at Coachella and Lollapalooza, as well as Brian Garris hopping on stage with 30 Seconds to Mars during their performance on Lolla. Marcus, let's start here. Andrew asks, over on Patreon, how long do you think it will take Knocked Loose to headline a stage at Coachella and not just play it like they did last year?
5 years. If it ever happens. I could never see it happening.
You don't think we can ever get there?
Not to be a Debbie Downer. I just could never see it happening. But, I mean, this scene has surprised me so fucking much lately.
We would need to crack the hold that the other 3 major genres currently have, maybe 4, depending on whether you want to separate pop and K-pop, on popular culture in order for metal to really start to become a headliner outside of, once again, their specific festivals. But you would put Knocked Loose in the conversation, right? When you start thinking about it,
yeah,
they're like,
of course.
yeah, you know, big up-and-coming bands. God, I don't even know. There's so much to take in with all of this. So much. First things first, Marcus, in our conversation over on the Deluxe, you stated that both of last year's singles would not be on the album. Frustratingly, you're right. And I'm really pissed about it. Because
Me too.
obviously Deep in the Willow is such a fucking unmitigated fucking smashing success of a track that I would have gladly had it on this album, having not yet heard it.
Jeez, at this point, Deep in the Willow might be my favorite track from this band.
Right.
And so I hear a song like Blinding Faith and I'm like, well, it's good, but it's not Deep in the Willow good, you know? Like now,
That's including the dog song.
Right. It's including
About
the
worms.
dog song about worms. So now this band's suddenly like got their work cut out for themselves just a little bit with me anyway, and that's not really anything important.
All right,
But,
so then next question. Let me build on that a little bit. Blinding Faith, how did that strike you?
Blinding Faith, one thing I'll say about Knocked Loose is that they can make anything exciting, including a metalcore band playing in the woods again.
Oh, that's a very good point.
In this music video.
That's a very good point. They actually are doing something that's sort of nostalgic in a sense.
Yeah, right. Just extremely familiar.
By running it back to, yeah.
But it's Knocked Loose, so it always ends up being something somewhat exciting. This song is fine. It sounds like a lead single to an album. I would have much preferred to have heard all the heard all of the other stuff that immediately grabs my attention way more. And I need to know what that Poppy feature sounds like. I need to know if Slaughterhouse 2 is the heaviest thing that's ever been written in the history.
Fine.
It's honestly fine. I don't think this song is that impressive. But again, I think it's coming off of Deep in the Willow. I know, fine. You don't like that?
Yeah, I don't know where the fuck you're coming from.
It's. I don't mean to come across like
disrespectfully.
I'm not trying to disparage this song, but it's like, yeah, this sounds like a Knocked Loose single to an album. But do I like it as much as some of those recent? Do I like it as much as anything off that EP? Definitely not.
I think you've spoken enough today.
I don't think I have. It's not as good as anything off that EP. It's not as good as those last two singles, but it's fine. I like it. I'm still extremely excited for Blinding Faith. You pre-ordered a vinyl immediately. I did the same thing.
Right, which would tell me that this is probably better than fucking Fine if both of us went and ordered the vinyl immediately. This is probably better than fucking Fine. That you could probably pay a compliment slight above Fine.
It's fine. And I'm extremely excited for this album, but the song is fine. I think the thing I'm most broken up about here is that I just don't think this video is as compelling as that Deep in the Willow video.
Oh, it isn't. But
like I was hoping we would really
away from the song
continue that same like aesthetic.
They continue the aesthetic that they've established now with their album artwork, I think specifically.
Well, sure.
Which is like a small child looking up at like a glowing neon cross.
No, right? That's a full-grown adult. It's just a really big cross.
So it's a full-grown adult who's child size based on how big the cross is. Yes, that's precisely correct.
It's a boulder. It's
almost
a
like
small
the Jimmy
boulder the size of a large
Pete
boulder.
Wentz comparison, right?
Yeah, this song is good, Sam. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
I want you to tell me that the song is good. I think
I'm not gonna fucking
good. I think it's weird you call it Fine.
No,
I like if you want to say that it's not the best Knocked Loose song, like obviously I'm like. I would mirror that.
The difference, Sam, between you and me.
You come at it with such a fucking like. What is this energy?
No, I'm just not gonna dick ride every single thing this band does. Okay?
I don't know when they're
this
good.
Song
dick
is
ride
fine.
When they're good, dick ride.
I do.
I don't think you know. I think you
long and hard.
I think you unsaddled yourself.
You're right.
In this instance, in a way that's almost more disrespectful. You're more excited about the unknown, obviously.
Yeah.
Two things: Poppy,
it's
Chris
unknown.
Motionless, right? All right, relax. Poppy, Chris Motionless.
Poppy, Chris Motionless, but and it's Poppy because Poppy's like my favorite artist at the moment. Between that new record,
that's just fine.
Stop.
How does it feel?
Stop.
How does it feel when somebody says something great? It's just fine.
Stop.
Hurts, doesn't it?
You've talked enough this episode. Between that album, between that feature, that full Bad Omen song featuring only Poppy. I need to know what that song with Knocked Loose sounds like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then the audacity, Sam. Look at me. The audacity to fucking
all right.
To take Slaughterhouse from Motionless in White and say this is ours now.
I love it.
Slaughterhouse 2.
I need more of this.
But we're gonna bring Chris Motionless in. We're gonna pull him in. We're gonna let him do some vocals.
Continuity. Love it.
Is he gonna scream? Is he gonna sing? What's gonna go on with that? Like so many questions when you see this track listing. And then I continue to.
If this was a piano ballad, if Slaughterhouse 2 is a piano ballad, I'll fucking die laughing.
But the cool thing about Knocked Loose is it's possible.
You're right. Well, I feel like that's what they're trying to establish here. It's like, forget everything you've ever known about Knocked Loose. You know what I mean? Like, we're fucking things up this time around.
I don't know. This is all awesome.
Love the name. I love the name of this album and the lore that got us there.
You with the fucking lore.
It's
bro.
very. I'm a big lore guy.
I know.
I'm big on lore. Huge lore guy
like
now. All about lore.
I love the artwork for this. This gorgeous. Is already catapulted to my favorite artwork of the year.
Moving on, Marcus. Bring Me the Horizon released music video for Kool-Aid. Originally released in January of this year, the single will feature on the band's upcoming Post-Human Next Gen EP, which is slated to release this summer, maybe, probably, hopefully. It's been an eventful few months for the band, having twice delayed the new EP, splitting with keyboardist producer Jordan Fish, and embarking on a massive UK-EU headliner that found them teaming up nearly nightly with current metalcore darlings Bad Omens. The band are nominated for a Brit Award for the Best Alternative Rock Act against the likes of the Rolling Stones, Blur, contemporary jazz drummer / composer Yusuf Days, and Scottish progressive hip-hop group Young Fathers. Somehow I'm sure the Rolling Stones will just win this. If the Brit Awards are anything like the Grammys and have zero respect for any artist who didn't come onto the scene within the last 40 years or previous to the most recent
60
40
years,
I guess. Yeah. Holy fuck, this music video is nuts. This music video is fucking insane. Bro, they went there. They fucking put nooses around children's head and then had to possess the body of a fucking stripper to murder the clergy. Fucking, we're all over the demons. Fucking,
there's crazy lore behind this one.
So
you wouldn't
much
understand.
shit going on here. Bring me dressed all 1900s Cathal of the
No
Witch,
Kool-Aid.
Catholic fucking shit. Zero Kool-Aid to be the entirety of the video. Good call out. Though I feel like at one point, like the guy's like holding a chalice of something that I would assume is Kool-Aid.
Blood.
man's
Kool-Aid has
another
not been
man's
my favorite track from this band this post-human cycle, but this song helps turn around that feeling a little bit here. I really like this video. This is a great video. And it's not like this band hasn't had really cool videos this run lately. Like the Amen video is pretty neat. The Lost video I thought was excellent. But like something about this one,
innocent children juxtaposed with horrific imagery is really like an aesthetic that is very difficult to watch, but obviously also very compelling for those reasons.
But talk about aesthetics, like seeing this band dressed up,
everything about it's so harsh,
Victorian style, surrounded by 1,000 trillion billion fucking candles, melted wax left and right. You know, like it's wonderful. It's amazing to see. This video just feels,
the way they carry themselves in this video, fucking 2011 metalcore era Bring Me the Horizon.
Yeah, this feels like There Is a Hell era Bring Me.
Right, like you could have fucking just like plucked it right off of that era of that album and like snuck it in there. It's beautiful in that sense.
Also, I feel like they don't really always show anyone who's not Ollie Sykes, but like in the performance video, it does look like there's still 4 bodies behind Ollie, meaning that I don't know if they brought in the one touring guy who's only ever,
I want to say that potentially they brought in the one touring guy that's only ever on tour. I want to say that might be the case. You're right. I like it. Like I like the nod.
It's just good seeing
come
like
off the bench. You know what I mean?
You see a fucking full band behind him. It really just like
it's more impactful, especially when you have a song like this, which is obviously so like fucking riff driven. Man, the point where fucking demons come out of the snow and the kids are doing like this little chant to take over that fucking,
it's a really impressive video. It ends so just crazy. I don't know.
It's big.
It's awesome.
It just feels big. You know what I mean? I felt like we needed something like that from Bring Me. And I don't know why it feels bigger than a lot of the stuff they've done recently. Maybe it's just because it reminds me of a certain era of this band that's been missing. And it turns out I'm that easy of a mark. One Step Closer released new single Leap Years. The track is taken from their upcoming sophomore album, All You Embrace, dropping May 17th on Run for Cover Records, and follows up 2021 debut record, This Place You Know, and 2023 EP, Songs for the Willow. Guitarist Ross Thompson on the new record, no idea was shot down. We weren't really thinking about if people were going to think we were lame for having a piano track on the record or for Ryan, vocalist Ryan Savitsky, singing more. We tried everything to make it sound as good as we possibly could. Guitarist Colvin O'Brien continuing on the new record, we've lost things, but we've given and we've gained things, and it's capturing all of those emotions into a set of songs. With change, you have to either embrace it or deal with it, but all the change for us was for the right reasons. Interestingly, while the album was recorded alongside John Markson, producer for albums from Drug Church, Koyo, and Can't Swim, who also plays bass on this album, the band had separate writing sessions with Isaac Hale of Knocked Loose and Matt Karukis of Citizen, respectfully. One Step Closer are currently on a joint U.S. headlining tour alongside Koyo and Anxious.
One Step Closer are kind of cool. They seem like a band that can slot in anywhere. Clearly, like they're writing with bands you might not initially expect when you hear their material?
I don't know. I think they all sort of fall within the realm of this like melodic hardcore
Yeah, I
meets
guess.
like one end of like the emo pop punk spectrum, and then like a slightly more like heavier side of it.
Hardcore side.
Yeah, like they maybe in I think you're right in the sense that like One Step Closer does slot in sort of all over the place, but I think the other two bands that they're with specifically on this tour align perfectly in that same sense. But I do love a band who feels like they could go on any bill and it would still feel okay.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what I'm getting
And it seems like they're
here.
broadening their horizons a little bit in that sense, because, you know, similarly to Knocked Loose, they're also taking that stand where they're saying, hey, you know, you might have come to expect a certain thing from this band, but like dismiss all the notions of what you think we are, because we're going to let our creativity flow free.
Yeah.
Also interesting that they wrote with Isaac Hale of Knocked Loose, who I'm beginning
I guess
to
that's
feel like
mainly what I was talking about.
Isaac Hill feels like maybe one of the most underrated, like quintessential elements of the current alternative scene.
Yeah, seems to be someone that obviously has a ton of respect in the scene, has collaborated with a ton of different bands, has been a part of a bunch of different bands.
And if they're helping bring the influence that they've given Knocked Loose to other artists, and we can, you know, hope that they will have the same levels of success that Knocked Loose has had, that's incredibly exciting to me.
100%.
But then I like the dichotomy of having someone like Isaac Hale, but then also having someone like Matt Carregas of Citizen, who is like a completely different vibe than Knocked Loose. And that kind of gives me like an idea of what I could potentially expect from this album. I really liked this lead single. I really liked that they dropped it on February 29th. Baller move. A lot of other bands would have fumbled this. I would have dropped this in September because they're stupid. But no, this band was like, this song has one day. It can come out. If we miss it, song never gets released.
Did you see someone on Twitter shouted out that Leap Day, the movie with like Amy Adams, didn't drop on Leap Day?
No, it came out like January 2nd or
Right.
something like that. It's because like, it's the same thing. Same thing happens when you get like a horror movie in like mid-August. You know what
Right.
I mean? It's like,
I get it. It's like you want it to
you
have
couldn't
legs.
pick Halloween for, you guessed it, that holiday of the same name.
Not wrong.
Insane. Obviously they didn't fumble the ball on this, Marcus. I really enjoyed this track, and I like the video for it too, which has the band kind of like posted up in like a small bedroom for like the teenager who's experiencing whatever emotional journey they're on over the course of this video, right?
It's a really extremely simple video, and for whatever reason I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
Yeah, it hits just right. It's something about like
Yeah,
almost
you got,
like a
the terror
minimalist
poster
approach
in the background and all that. It's just, it feels very like homemade in a cool way. I don't know.
Yeah, and it also feels like very aesthetically, it's almost like aesthetically Tumblr in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
it immediately makes me think of like somebody covering their wall with all of these alt press posters of bands they love. Yeah, it just works. Marks, let's talk a few anniversaries and then get out of here. Linkin Park released breakthrough single Crawling 23 years ago on March 1st, 2001. Let that sit for a minute.
It's like it was just yesterday.
I don't like that songs are becoming like older than adults. You know what I mean? Like they're like, this song's 23. This song can rent a car in 2 years. Get the fuck out of here. Like, are you serious right now? Like, do you know how fucking old you have to be this old of a song? Like old, bro.
This song is pre 9/11 is
Yeah,
the first thing that came to mind.
It
here.
also makes me think, and I think about this all the time, I feel like songs from Nirvana and stuff were like on classic rock stations in like 15 years, and now we're going on 20 plus for Linkin Park. And suddenly I'm starting to think to myself, like, do they become the classics now?
They do.
Yeah.
They unfortunately.
Speaking of classics, Marco, Sleeping with Sirens released Do It Now, Remember It Later, 12 years ago on February 28th, 2012.
Speaking of, you know, cars and renting, this one in 3 years can almost get its fucking permit.
And then they can drive a car just like
Right.
Colin Quinn does in the music video for Do It Now.
A
Remember It
van,
Later.
a news van.
Man, I forgot how fucking long-winded this video was. It's like fucking 3 minutes of build-up to get to the song.
It's a lot.
It's insane.
It's a
Yeah, I
lot.
was like, there's a news station, there's a kid, there's an interview, there's a van. It's like, oh my fucking God. And finally, Marcus, A Day to Remember released Second Sucks 12 years ago on February 27th, 2012.
Fight.
Big day for the fucking scene, by the way. Getting second sucks and then do it now, remember it later on back-to-back days, bro. They were eating.
We were fucking eating, bro. I cannot imagine. But like nowadays, something like that happening.
Still one of the most compelling concepts.
Two
for
of
a
these
music
bands'
video.
most iconic songs.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good point.
Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat fucking fight shit, bro, and then having like the character options show up in the music video. A lot of fun. Brilliant idea. Once again, if you want to support this show, patreon.com/SOTS podcast, or you can always give us a thumbs up on YouTube or 5 stars on Spotify or Apple if you don't have any money to spare. Either way, we love you. Bye.
Good fucking.